for reminding us that I believe from the cradle to the grave, Jesus lives in thee. If you have your copy of God's Word this morning, I want to encourage you to take it and open it up to the Old Testament book of Nehemiah, chapter 6 this morning. Nehemiah chapter 6. We are continuing to walk through the Old Testament book of Nehemiah on Sunday mornings, and I pray that the book of Nehemiah has not only been encouraging to you, but it's also challenged you to be a part and to take part in what God is doing, to fulfill your role and your place and the work that God has called us to. And that is to reach out to a lost and to a dying world, to repair relationships as well as build new ones. And today, as we come to the 6th chapter of Nehemiah, I want to begin in the 15th verse this morning. And I've entitled my message today, Starting at New Beginnings. This is the first Sunday of 2020. Some people have written checks already this year, and maybe you wrote 2019. I'm one of those who hasn't written a check this year, so I've not even made that mistake so far. I've not even had to put a date on the document this year. But it's very early in the year, amen? And so today, as we look at starting at new beginnings, the 15th verse of Nehemiah chapter 6 tells us that the wall was finished. The wall was finished. And although it seems that maybe possibly even that work was done, the work was only beginning. There was something that was going to have to be done after the wall was finished. And so today, on the first Sunday of January of the year 2020, the work that may have ended last year, there is a work that needs to go on this year. We can't just say we finished the work. In the Apostle Paul's writing, one of the things that he said in writing to Timothy, he said, I have finished the race. He said he had kept the faith. He had finished the race. And there was now for him, there was laid up a crown of righteousness. But not only for him, but for all those. Ladies and gentlemen, though the wall may be finished, there's still work to do. So I want to invite you this morning to stand at the reading of God's Word, Nehemiah chapter 6, beginning in verse 15 and reading the first two verses there, 15 and 16 in the reading today. So the wall was finished on the 25th day of Elul, in 52 days. And it happened when all our enemies heard of it, and all the nations around us saw these things, that they were very disheartened in their own eyes. For they perceived that this work was done by our God. Father, thank you again for this moment together. We ask that you would not only bless the reading of your word, but God, that your word would speak truth into our lives. Father, I pray that you would just hide your master behind the cross. They don't need to see me. They don't need to hear me. Lord God, they need to see Jesus lifted up, and they need to hear his voice. Father, we thank you that you have allowed us to be here. We thank you for this new year, and we thank you for new beginnings that you have given unto us. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. You may be seated. Starting at new beginnings. If you would just say today, very honestly, that you're thankful 2019 is over? I think that there are many of us here today that would say with a very great honesty and with very much enthusiasm possibly that, God, I'm thankful for 2019, but I'm thankful that 2019 has come to an end. God, I'm thankful that for what you've done in 2019, but I'm anxiously and hopefully living in great expectation of what you're going to do in 2020. Because I do believe that although 2019 had its own challenges, although 2019 brought even some victories in our life, we can say that we are thankful for and excited about a new year. I would even go as far as saying that I'm so excited about 2020 that I'm living in great hope and with great expectation that this very well could be the year that Jesus Christ comes in the clouds of glory. I am very excited about the possibilities and the opportunities that this year holds, in so much that what was done last year set us up for what God is going to do this year. And so as I read God's Word, I'm encouraged by this passage of Scripture, and as we look at it, as we dig a little deeper into it, I think that there are some very great things that God can show each of us today, and something that we can apply to all of our lives. There was a work that was done according to Nehemiah, and that work was done and the wall was built in 52 days. We're even told that the wall was completed in such a great amount of time that it was so impressive how fast it was done, but it was only done because the people had a mind to work. Everybody that God brought together to accomplish this great task that God had placed upon Nehemiah's heart was only done not because one person had a vision, not only because one person had a dream, but it was because that the people had a mind to work. They were willing to link arms. They were willing to do whatever it took to get the job done. And therefore, because of that, the wall was built in a record time, 52 days. And we're also told just a little bit later on in the first few verses of chapter 7 that not only was the wall built, but that the doors were hung. There were people that were placed in their appointed spots, and we'll get into that in just a little bit later in the message this morning. But what God does, God works with great and precise time. And although our timetable and God's timetable is so many times millions of miles apart, what God does with perfect timing and with perfect execution. And so there was work that was done. The work that was done in such a way that the enemies were dismayed. It tells us here in verse 16 that they were disheartened even in their own eyes. They were discouraged because of the Jews' success. I want to challenge you that this year, what God does in the lives of others, don't be jealous because of the success that God brings into other people's lives. Don't be jealous or don't be dismayed because of what God is doing in somebody else's life. I want to say this to you this morning. Are you ready for what God is going to do in your life this year? Are you open? Are you willing for God to really do something in your life that people looks at you and says, wow, this no doubt is a work of God? How many of you have had classmates that you go to school with or that you went to school with, and in reunion times, class reunions, people get to talk about what they are and what they have done in their life, and then you tell them what God has done in your life, and they look at you like, wow, I didn't see that coming in high school. You don't think that we've all got some of that in our life? That people were shocked with what God can do in other people's lives. But I read a statement the other day. God is more prone to promote from the pit than He is from the pedestal. God is more prone to use people that is the lowest of society than He is to use people who think that they have it all together. And so that there was a work that was done. It was done in such a way that the enemies, though they were disheartened, they were dismayed, they were even discouraged, it says that they had a perception that this was a work that was done by our God. Perception is in the eye of the perceiver, how people view things. But it is something that when God does something, even the enemies have a perception that it was done by a great God. And then we read just a little bit further that when we find out that the wall was finished and it happened. I love that word, that little three-letter phrase there in verse 16, that the wall was finished and it happened. There's always something else that's going on. We rejoice in the Lord, but to somebody else, there's great disheartening. You know, that's how God's people should live their lives, is really causing the devil a lot of dismay in his life. Instead of when we get up of a morning and us saying, good God, it's morning, we should get up in the morning and say, thank God it's morning. And when our feet hit the ground, the devil's first words are to say, oh me, they're up. Oh me, God's people is arise and they are awakened and they are stirring and they're active and they're alive and they're vibrant. And there's a work to do and they're going to accomplish it. But even in victory, there is still work to be done. At the end of every year, when we look at sports, there's always a final game, a championship game, if you would. But even at the end of that championship game, there's already preparation being made, even by the winning team, for next year. There's already preparation being made of prospects that they're going to reach out to in the off season. There's already work that those who have played in the championship game and won the title, there's already plans being made in the off season to how they are going to sharpen and hone in even on their best skills. There's always plans being made even after victory that there's still work to be done. I don't know how many times I've watched a ball game before, and it's always seemed like to me it's more so in basketball and football than it is anything, but you know, it's almost like whenever somebody drives down the court in the first quarter, they slam dunk, and it's almost like they just won the game. But so many times they forget that there's still 3 more quarters to be played. Or even in a football game when all seems lost, at the end of halftime, there's still another half that is left yet to be played. Even in the victories of 2019, ladies and gentlemen, in 2020, there's still work to be done. Be careful. Be careful. I send you this as a warning. Be careful that after a time of spiritual growth or after a goal has been accomplished, be careful. Because it is so often that after success, we are all susceptible to failure and a great sin. It always seems like after a win, that's when we're at our highest. Let me tell you something, dear friend, the enemy doesn't attack when we're at our lowest. He always comes against us when we're at our highest. It is at the of great spiritual growth, or after goals have been accomplished, that we are susceptible to failure or sin. Let me give you that warning. Yes, remember the victories of 2019, but the work is not yet over. There's a second part. There are the witnesses in verse 17 through 19. Also in those days, the nobles of Judah sent many letters to Tobiah. Remember, Tobiah is one of these guys, he's one of the three. There was Sanballat and there was Tobiah. He was one of the guys that was always trying to stop the work. Let's make them afraid. But here we find that there were letters that were sent from the nobles of Judah to Tobiah, and the letters of Tobiah came to them. So there is a corresponding, there is communication that is still going on. That don't seem like a bad thing, does it? Actually, I think it's good when people communicate. It almost brings us to the point that when there is a great failure, most of the time we can all use that age-old phrase, what we have here is a failure to communicate. The failure to communicate is usually a great downfall of men. Whether that is in your home, the failure to communicate. Whether that is in your workforce, a failure to communicate causes problems. In the church, failure to communicate is an issue that affects many people on a very grand level. So we find that they were still communicating, but something else was going on. There were people in Judah who were pledged to him, pledged to Tobiah. And it says here in verse 18, because he was the son-in-law of Shechaniah, the son of Ariah, and his son Jehanan had married the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Berechiah. Also, they reported his good deeds before me and reported my words to him. Tobiah sent letters to frighten me. There were the witnesses, the nobles of Judah. They had just witnessed God doing a great work. But for me, there is, in spite of Nehemiah's inspirational leadership and his exemplary service, his godly vision, there was the wealthy Jews throughout Judah who continued to have a dual alliance with Tobiah. I think that we see that today in the church. We want the blessings of God in our life and for our life while we continue to hold hands and walk with the devil. Oh, did I step on some of your toes or your tongues? We want the blessings of God and the benefits of God, yet we want to walk and hold hands and play with the devil. And because of that, it causes problems in your life and in the lives of other people. Don't tell me that you can live your life and it only affects you. That is a lie. The truth is, how we live our life affects people that we don't even know we have affected. It possibly affects your children's grandchildren that you will never meet. How you live your life, because one generation impacts another. There was the workers, and there was the work, and there was the witness. And dual loyalty will always cause a problem. Jesus said it this way: you can't be a friend of God and a friend of the world. You can't love God and you can't love man. In our society today, I guess you could say it like this: you can't have your cake and eat it at the same time. The world does not revolve around you. God revolves the world. And so when we read what is going on here with the witness, we can say, well, it don't seem real bad. But if we notice that Tobiah had a connection, he had a Jewish connection. He was the son-in-law of Shechaniah, who was the son of Aaron. And Tobiah's son, Jehonan, had married the daughter of Absalom, the son of Berechiah. There was a connection. It was almost like an interwoven piece. You know, when we all begin to trace our family heritage back, and we begin to trace our ancestry back, it's wild how so many times our families of people that we don't really think we're kin to, how they sort of intertwine together. And although we think that this is a big world, it is, it's very small. Because there's a lot of places you can go and you can meet people who are friends or family of people that you know somewhere else, and it all sort of intertwines with relationships. So when we read this, it is also said that Tobiah was not just an outsider. He was possibly in the city. And he possibly knew everything that had been going on. Therefore, not only was he involved in the resistance, but he was part of the problem. The world will not be destroyed so much, or the church will be destroyed from outside in. The church will be destroyed from inside out. It'll be like a cancer. Many of you here today, my family is very prone to cancer. One side is cancer, the other side is heart disease. So I'm just bound to be eat up and fall over the bed, just being individual. But that's many of us, right?
Yes.
We don't ever know. Until one day we go to the doctor and everything looks fine when we go to the doctor and he says, I've got some bad news. You know, when we look at the church, from the outside, everything looks great. But the problem is not from outside in, it's from inside out. And Tobiah was right in the middle of it. And so much that the nobles, the wealthy Jews, Tobiah was sort of holding things over their head. They owed him money because they had pledged to him. Following the path of God, Jeremiah 6:16 says, stand in the ways and see and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk in it, then you will find rest for your soul. What is the witness? Dear friend, if we're ever going to get back to the glory days of the church, it's going to start from within. It's going to start from within. And not from within a building with four walls, but within the hearts and the lives of God's people. To be witnesses. Tobiah was not an outsider, but he did have motives and he had economic interests. Not everybody that says that they're a part of us is a part of us. Jesus said, for if they had been a part of us, they would not have went out from us. There are the workers. The work that was done, the witnesses, the nobles of Judea, and then there's the workers in chapter 7. The gatekeepers, the singers, the Levites, and the guard. It's a good thing God didn't let me be a singer. I love to sing, but man, I can't carry a tune in a bushel of washington. But if I couldn't sing, y'all couldn't stand to be around me. Maybe you can't stand to be around me now. But there's the work. And if you notice that not everybody has the same job. It says it right here in the scripture in verse 1 of chapter 7. When I hung the walls, when the wall was built and I hung the doors, the gatekeepers, the singers, the Levites had been appointed. I gave the charge of Jerusalem to my brother. There's the gatekeepers, the singers, the Levites, and the guards. The guards is over here in chapter 7, verse 3. They're the workers that are appointed. It takes everybody doing their part at the right place at the right time for the right result. Does that make good sense to you this morning? The right people at the right place doing the right job to get the right result. So the workers were appointed and to maintain and to operate everything within the walls, as well as to protect and to warn about every threat that comes against the community. So Nehemiah writes that the charge of Jerusalem he gave to his brother Hananiah, and Hananiah, the leader of the citadel, for he was a faithful man and feared God more than me. Church, we've got to be more than just good church people. We've got to be good God-fearing people. Repeat that. Brother Micah, okay, I will. We've got to be more than just good church people. We've got to be good God-fearing people. And when I say good God-fearing people, I mean that we fear God in reverence and holiness and in awe of who He is. I don't mean that we hide under the couch every time that we hear His name. I don't mean that we shut and lock the doors every time His name is proclaimed. I mean reverent fear of God. We should walk before Him. And the people in whom Nehemiah chose were people, especially those that were going to be in a great leadership position, were one that was a faithful man and feared God more than many. And then Nehemiah gave them a direct order to the workers. Don't let the gates of Jerusalem be opened until the sun is hot, and while they stand guard, let them shut and bar the doors. Appoint guards from among the inhabitants of Jerusalem, one at his watch station and another in front of his own house. Why? Because in verse 4 it says the city was large and it was spread out. I don't know if I've got a pretty good idea of where you all live. I don't have a good distance, radius of how many miles that people from Mount Gilead Baptist Church, how many miles of a radius in which we encompass as a church. We cover a pretty good area. From north Henderson County to eastern part of Henderson County to the western part of Henderson County over on Fort Cloud, and even over into Carroll County, into Lavinia, into Spring Creek, Madison County. We cover a pretty good area. And so it takes multiple people playing multiple roles, doing multiple things, basically. There were those that were charged to be the gatekeepers. There were those that were appointed guards at their house and at the station in which, a watch station, it says, we are workers in the family of God, but we are also to warn, advise, protect, and participate in the growth and health of the family. What does that mean? We're to be involved in each other's lives. That's not a bad idea, is it? Sometimes parents, I think that if you were more involved in your kids' lives, some of our kids would make the mistakes that we made. Oh, you don't want me talking to you about your children? You know, maybe for once, if parents would be parents, and the church would do what the church is supposed to do, we would have never got in the position that we're in today. Maybe that if the the workers were doing what they were assigned to do. Maybe if it was the parents' real biblical responsibility that they took it upon themselves to nurture the children and to train them up and to bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord according to Proverbs, maybe we took that seriously. Or maybe if the church took it seriously that we are to be a light in the world. As we look at this, we can also, there's three other aspects we can look at this in. We can look at it in the evangelistic aspect. The law was built in 2 days. Creation was done in 6 days, and on the 7th day, God rested. There was 3 days that Jesus was in the heart of the earth, and after that, he arose victorious. There's the years that Israel was taught to be obedient as they wandered through the wilderness because of disobedience. There is a time of eternity which is endless. There's also the witnesses, and that's what we're to be. We're to be witnesses of the manifold grace of God. That there is only one way to heaven. His name is Jesus. He died on the cross. He took your place. And after he rose victorious, he made you and I a promise that where I am, there you're going to be also, according to John chapter 14. And we're also told that in Acts chapter 1, that the Jesus that they had seen go was going to come again in like manner as they had seen him go, and that we're going to go with him. And then he tells the church in Thessalonica, who thought that they had already missed the resurrection, he says, I don't want you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning those who are asleep. No, those that are in the cemetery that had Christ in them before they went to the cemetery, they're not there. They're in the presence of God. And one of these days, Jesus is coming again. The dirt's going to fly open and the body's going to rise and their spirit's going to meet in the air. Yes. And we're going to be witnesses of that. Yes. And then there's the workers. There's the workers. Ephesians chapter 2, we're told. In chapter 2, verses 8, 9, and 10, it is by grace you have been saved through faith. It's not of yourselves, it's the gift of God, lest anyone should boast. In verse 10, it goes on and tells us, for we are his workmanship created in Christ Jesus unto good works. We're created to work for God, not for self. We're called to protect, to warn. We're called to be diligent in our walks and faithful, as the covenant says, in our deportation. We are called to advise. We are called to participate in the lives of others. So today, church family, starting a new year, just because of the victory of 2019, are you saying that you've already won? No, there's still work to be done. I want to thank you for the 120 favors in Sunday school, and for the other 50, I will invite you to come back next Sunday. And for the 160 of us that's in worship or so, I want you to invite one person next Sunday. Let's make 2020 a year that we see people as God sees people. Can I tell you that people are important? You're important. You're important to God. You're important to me. You're important to the furthering of the kingdom. We have work to do. We have witnessed God's goodness. Tell somebody. And we are workers for the kingdom of God. When we consider the work completed by God, witnessing the good hand of our God upon us, and knowing God's call in your life, what are you waiting? What are you waiting on today? Are you waiting on somebody to take you by the hand and lead you to Jesus? If it was that simple, I would do it. But you've got to be willing to come on your own. Church family, what are you waiting on to get down to business serving? You waiting on somebody to take you by the hand and lead you? If we have to take you by the hand and lead you to service, dear friend, if we're not holding your hand all the time, you'll walk off and you won't serve. You've got to be willing to serve on your own and make your own mind up that you're going to serve. Would you begin 2020 by standing firm and working diligently? What do you want to be remembered by? What do you want to be on your tombstone? When this life is over, the work was done in 52 days. At the end of your life, what do you want people to remember you by? After all these years, the one thing that we know about Nehemiah, he had a burden for his family and for his friends. He didn't just take that burden and say, I can't do anything. He made that burden a mission. And that mission became a possibility. And that possibility was renewed in the finishing of the work that God had placed before him. What do I remember about Nehemiah? His faithfulness, his diligence, and all those that worked with him to accomplish the goal that God had set for him. What did you do? Maybe what you will be remembered by is not what you want to be remembered by. So what I will ask you today, why don't you start 2020 off right? Why don't you start 2020 at the foot of the cross? Why don't you start 2020 on your face before God? Why don't you start 2020 living every moment for the cause of Jesus Christ? Father, today as we begin to get this invitation, today we have the privilege of starting all over. We have the great privilege of